Welcome to Champel's Sports Museum and Restaurant here in North Kansas City. I'm Matt Folks. Dave O'Hare at the far side. Steve Busby here in the middle as we come back at you with Behind the Stats. We do a radio show here every Thursday night. Today's Wednesday. We've taped the show already, but you can hear it on Thursday night, or you can go to our website, behindthestatsradio.com, and hear a podcast of it. But, Steve, first off, the biggest question people tend to ask us about you, obviously the two no-hitters. And as you think back to those, and you don't necessarily have to go into great detail about both of them, but just as you think back to those and what you accomplished with them, what do you think about? What comes to mind?
Well, I mean, they were very exciting moments, man. I can't deny my feeling very, very proud of what happened, because it's not something that everybody has the good fortune to have happen to them. But considering that, it was an extreme surprise to me. I never considered myself to have the ability to throw no-hitters or even be destined to have that. So I kind of look at it as, the blind hog finding the acorn a couple times. It just happened, and the first one was in my 10th Major League start, and I was overwhelmed. I really was after the whole thing. It took about 3 days for it to set in. Had no idea. I was in brand new territory. Had no idea how to act, what to do. And it was part of the learning process about being a major league pitcher. The second one, a year later in Milwaukee, at least I had an idea of what to expect, the kinds of questions and what I should do, and how to respond to things. I was a little more humble, let's put it that way, in my approach. But very satisfying is what I think about it. It's a great thing to have sitting on the mantle of no-hit balls and things like that. It's a great conversation piece. They don't sit extremely high, though, on my memories of what's important to me in baseball. Winning was always the most important.
But you are still the only major league pitcher with no hitters in each of your first 2 years.
Apparently, guys didn't do very well. I mean, they just didn't have the good luck that I had. No, that's tremendous. I mean, it's very humbling, considering all the great pitchers that have gone before and since that haven't had that happen to them. But where to put it in terms of historical reality? It's there, and it happened. That's about all I can tell you.
Historical reality or your reality, Steve Busby, right? There you go. Steve, we had in past conversations that talked in reference to your no-hitters. You, I think, just hit a spot on, and for those that have missed your comments on this in the past, talk about your thoughts on competition, but most importantly, pressure. And you talked about being prepared, and I don't want to lead you down a path, but That's where I'm going with this.
Yeah, Dave, I think one of the things, and I've really kind of formulated this approach since I started working with younger players. I do individual instruction down in Texas, but I've always felt this way, and one of the great things about teaching is it makes you examine why you feel the way you feel about things, why you did things the way you did them. And I've kind of come up with a way to impart how I felt about pressure to younger players, and that's if you know how to react to a situation in a game, and you know what you're supposed to do, and you trust your ability, there is no pressure in any situation because you're not worried about the results. Pressure comes from being concerned about the results more so than your performance. So, if you know what to do and you know how to do it, then it's a matter of doing it as well as you can each time. Let the results take care of themselves, and there is no pressure. Where pressure comes from, along with worrying about results, is not being sure how to handle a situation, whether it's new or whether you forgot, or being confident in your ability to handle that situation.
Well, and well stated. The nice thing is you control what you can control, right, and that's all you can do. Next question, and it's one that we've got to, I hate to say it, we've got to ask this, but we got to ask this because every former Royal that we've had on talks either about you and your competitive fire, but also a couple of locker room characters you had. Well, I shouldn't say just locker room, on and off the field, in the dugout, and a name that keeps coming up all the time. There's a few names that come up once in a while. Hal McRae comes up in every conversation.
Yeah, and rightfully so. Hal was came over from Cincinnati at a very formative stage in our organizational development. Most of us, the younger players, and I'm talking about myself and Paul Splittorff and let's see, Al Cowens wasn't quite there yet, but Amos Otis was a young player at that time. Freddie Patek was even relatively young, and then George Brett a year later. we were all influenced, I think, significantly by Hal McRae, because coming over from Cincinnati, Hal had that big red machine mentality where being around Rose and Morgan and Perez and Bench and people like that, um, baseball was not just a game to be played and taken lightly. It was a 24-hour a day in the locker room, on the field, away from the ballpark situation where it was competition, and you had to learn how to compete at the major league level and learn how to do it quickly and consistently. And Hal McRae brought that drive, that inner confidence that he knew what he was doing, and nobody was going to beat him. Kind of an attitude to us. Just determination, hard work, and the ability to sit back and laugh at yourself when things go wrong, as they invariably do, but the ability not to take yourself extremely seriously when things don't work out.
Well, and Sparky Anderson as a manager doesn't hurt either.
No.
And the interesting thing you and I talked about off the air, and you just kind of touched on it when you said not taking yourself too seriously. You and I both said agents have something to do with that, and today's ball players. But I liked also what you said about how pitchers and the whole team weren't separated as they are today.
Well, I think when you look at how baseball is taught today, and maybe it's been this way for a long time. I don't think it has, but winning is de-emphasized coming up through the minor leagues, and personal statistics are overemphasized. And I think part of that's because of agents and how you advance. But I think by not emphasizing winning, you put the individual at the forefront instead of the team. And I'm not saying you should not focus on individual stats to advance through the minor league system. Obviously you do. But I think most of us felt that individual stats came as a result of you playing the game with the goal of helping the team win. And if personal stats helped you out, that was good. They usually would. But winning was the most important thing, and you'd advance and get paid if you were on winning ball clubs, contributed to that success.
Steve, obviously a lot of Royals fans remember you after your career. You went into broadcasting almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
WDAF, and then some time with the Royals Network. You've been in Texas, I guess, 14, 15 years now, 16 years. But you're also, in addition to working with the Rangers, you're also doing some teaching down there, teaching baseball.
Yeah, man, I started teaching a little bit over 10 years ago, working with young pitchers all the way from 10, 11, 12 years old up through. I've got some guys in college now, and a couple kids have signed and gone on to the minor leagues. It's been tremendous. The most fulfilling thing, I think, other than being a parent, that I've ever done in my life. And I wish I would have started 25 years ago, because it's really something I feel very strongly about now, that part of the benefit I receive from having played Major League Baseball, from having been involved with baseball through broadcasting also, is to turn around and give that information back, give those experiences back. Maybe they can benefit somebody, maybe they can't, but it's really incumbent upon me to try and get those back out there, because when we came up, in the late 60s and early 70s and throughout most of the 70s, there was always a veteran player ready to take you aside and say, look, kid, here are the ropes, and here's how you're supposed to play the game, and here's how you go about it. You're a professional now, and, get it done. And I think we've lost a little bit of that, and I'm trying to give back my experiences for whatever value they may have to other people.
Has the game changed much, the teaching part of it? I mean, Dave mentioned the agents, the cell phones, that type of thing, the camaraderie, but has the game itself changed much?
No, the game hasn't changed. The game never changes, unless there are rule changes. The game of baseball is still about throwing the ball well, about hitting the ball well, about catching the ball well. That hasn't changed in 140 years. Some minor tweaks here and there. How it's played, the characters that play it, yeah, that's all changed. And some for good, some for the betterment of the game, and some not so much. But I'm sure that people, when I came up, were saying the same things that had been in baseball for a long time. These new guys, young guys, they don't have any respect for the game and things like that. But the game, no, it hasn't changed, and I pray that it never will, because it's the greatest thing going.
Good deal. Steve, we appreciate you joining us here at Champles. Again, you can hear the radio broadcast at our website, behindthestatsradio.com, and you can actually go back and see an article about Steve, I guess it's been, 2 or 3 weeks ago, shortly after John Lester threw his no-hitter against the Royals. We did article here on metrosports.com about Steve, and you can go find that through the archives. It's too complicated for me to figure out, let alone explain it to you. So, but we're here at Chapels every Thursday night, 6 to 7. For Dave O'Hare, Steve Busby, I am Matt Folks. Until next week.